Earlier in the week, I talked about rainfall only being a couple inches. We're hearing now maybe 6 to 10 inches.
I was standing in the middle of the street for much of the morning doing reports, and it's no longer possible to do that. It's too much of a wind tunnel out there.
The 2017 Atlantic hurricane season had been fairly active leading up to Irma, with 10 depressions, 9 named storms, 3 hurricanes, and 1 major hurricane having formed. The one major hurricane was Category 4 Hurricane Harvey, which caused extreme flooding in Texas, and is tied for the costliest hurricane ever. Even with all this activity, there was still a lot left to come. On August 26, 2017, the National Hurricane Center started tracking a tropical wave over western Africa, and later that day at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, an area of interest was placed over the Atlantic west of Cape Verde, highlighting a 20% probability of a tropical cyclone forming within the next 5 days. At 8 p.m. the following day, the probability was increased to 40%, and it was stated that environmental conditions were conducive for gradual development of the system. The likelihood was upgraded once again the morning of the 28th to 70%, and chance of formation within the next 48 hours was now at 30%. Due to the storm becoming better organized, the NHC was predicting it to become a tropical depression in a matter of days. As time went on, confidence continued to increase, and at 2 a.m. on August 30th, the system was upgraded to a tropical storm and was subsequently given the name Irma. Models were projecting Irma to make a slight turn towards the Caribbean, but that was still a ways out, so confidence was low. Less than 24 hours after being named, the storm was upgraded to a Category 1 hurricane with winds of 75 miles per hour. Much like thunderstorms, hurricanes need warm temperatures to strengthen, and since the water surface temperatures in the Atlantic were high, as well as minimal wind shear being present, Irma underwent rapid intensification on August 31st. By September 1st, the hurricane had strengthened from 75 to 115 miles per hour, now being classified as a major hurricane. The pressure within the storm had also dropped to 967 millibars. It was now also projected that Irma would make a turn northward just before impacting the Caribbean, sparing them from a direct hit. This, however, would unfortunately not happen. After just under a day at this strength, Irma underwent a second round of rapid intensification as it continued to approach land. On September 3rd, after Irma had regained Category 3 intensity, an aircraft reconnaissance or recon mission measured an eye 29 miles wide in 115 mile/per-hour winds. At 8 a.m. on September 5th, it was found that Irma had winds of 172 miles per hour, officially making it a Category 5. By the 5th, hurricane warnings had been issued for islands in the North Leewards as well as Puerto Rico. Tropical storm warnings were also in effect in other areas which weren't projected to be impacted by hurricane-force winds. Many schools and businesses were closed throughout the islands, hospitals stocked up on supplies, and cliff and beachside homes were evacuated due to risk of storm surge and erosion. A state of emergency was declared in Puerto Rico on the 4th, and FEMA deployed response teams to the island on the 6th. Thousands of tourists who chose the wrong time to go on vacation were evacuated to Santo Domingo. At 1:45 a.m. local time, Irma made landfall in Barbuda, still at Category 5 intensity, with winds of 178 miles per hour and a central pressure of 914 millibars. The hurricane remained as a Category 5 until 8 p.m. on the 8th, when it began undergoing eye wall replacement cycle. Eye wall replacement cycle, or EWRC, is when a strong tropical cyclone forms a new eye wall around the original, usually causing the cyclone to briefly weaken. Eventually, the first eye wall is fully replaced and the storm re-strengthens. Irma weakened to a Category 4 southwest of Turks and Caicos with winds of 155 miles per hour. 13 hours later, she increased back to a Category 5 with winds now at 161 miles per hour. A subtropical ridge north of the hurricane caused it to turn north towards Florida. As Irma began turning, it paralleled Cuba's northern coast and weakened to a Category 2. After pulling away from the island, she strengthened back to a Category 4 with 132 mile/per-hour winds. 5 days earlier, the governor of Florida, Rick Scott, placed the state under a state of emergency. At 9 a.m. on September 10th, Irma made landfall in the Florida Keys as a Category 4. By this point, almost the entire coast of the state was under a hurricane warning. 6 hours later, Irma made landfall once again on Marco Island south of Naples at Category 3 strength, with winds of 115 miles per hour. After this, the hurricane slowly weakened to a post-tropical cyclone before dissipating over southeastern Missouri on the morning of September 13th. Her max winds of 185 miles per hour tied her with 3 other hurricanes at 6th place for the highest hurricane wind speeds ever in the Atlantic. Irma also spent 77 hours at Category 5 intensity, the second longest time ever for an Atlantic hurricane. 33 tornadoes were spawned from the hurricane, including 12 EF0s, 17 EF1s, and 3 EF2s. During its 15-day lifetime, Irma caused over $77 billion in damage and 134 fatalities. She was also the costliest hurricane in Cuban history and 7th costliest in US history. In April 2018, the World Meteorological Association decided to retire the name Irma from the hurricane name list due to the large amount of damage and loss of life it caused. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please consider subscribing so you can learn more about weather phenomena on my channel.